Ladies and gentlemen, today is a very sad day because today I found out that the i30n and the i20n is being cancelled. So it only has one generation and it was a shining light in the car community, but it's being cancelled. And today let's dive into sort of the history of Hyundai and the i30n in particular. First, I have to say I have quite a bit of affinity with Hyundai because this very car was my very first car, a Hyundai i20. This one has the Go package, which gave it 10 more horsepower to the mighty 85 number, which, it wasn't fast, but around town is perfect. And this was my very first little car. I had a nice little gray color, the black mirrors over there, the aluminum wheels, and the body color. In any case, I love this little thing. It was a ton of fun, and so I have quite a bit of affinity with the Hyundai brand, and also, of course, this is the new i20, also in the N spec, which now also has been cancelled. And the final bit of affinity I have is, of course, my fellow countryman, Thierry Neuville, just became world champion in the motorsport version of the i20. It shares maybe a couple body panels, but besides that, this thing is, of course, totally different. But this is the very first i30, I believe 2008, something like that. Then you have the second generation, I think 13, something like that. Never really liked the generation. I'll show later why. And this is then the most recent i30, which of course was transformed into the i30n. Quick little tangent on this generation. I never really dug the big ass black bar in the grill. Like, I don't know why they did this. It looks hella ugly. So this, of course, is the Genesis, and then you had the Veloster, which was always a bit of a weird car. I think I picked two. Only a two-door, but I believe they had like this little handle with a weird little four-door. Could be wrong. In any case, I also never really dug the spoiler. But the end version is obviously great. I absolutely love the baby blue with the red. I think it's such an original color. I'm kind of impressed it wasn't, never done before. But in any case, here is sort of the tree of how Hyundai tackles everything. So you have the base models, then you have the line, which is the same as like an Audi does, where it's, it has like the little beefier panels and maybe a little bit of an upgrade on the engine, but usually it's just a tune, especially with these kind of cars. Then of course you have the high performance, the actual ends. Then this is kind of, the playground doesn't really matter. And then you have the motorsport, which of course was, the car of Thierry Neuville. So I don't know if you know about the history of N, but it actually stands for, I'm going to absolutely butcher this, Namyang, I believe the name is, and this is where their research center is put, which is, this is a picture of it, and I believe they have something like 30 tracks to test these cars on. It's absolutely massive, something like 15,000 people work there, and the actual logo of N was inspired by a chicane, so a chicane on a track, which I thought was really, really interesting. I absolutely love that. So, the i30n original base price is from 38 grand. This is in euro, right? So you can transform to yourself. Okay, of course, this is the base price. Now, the fun thing about brands like Hyundai is that you never really have a ton of options on them. I believe these had like a panoramic roof, maybe some interiors like, I believe, Alcantara, maybe a different rim. Maybe the baby blue is like, I think it's probably standard, but if you want a different color, or maybe this baby blue is like a grand, something like that. I would be surprised if you could spec this over 45. So actually, relatively speaking, not the most expensive car. And I actually went looking for the, second-hand cars, and they go for basically about the same amount. Like, this is pretty much a new one. So it's, it just came out basically. They have less than 10,000 kilometers on it. And this is basically the same price. So they hold their value pretty well, because this one is 2 or almost 5 years old at this point. 30,000 kilometers is nothing, but still, this is great. He basically didn't lose any money on this at all. And of course, let's take a look at the car that was really up against the Hyundai, or rather the car that the i30n went up against. And that's, of course, the 7th Golf Generation GTI. This is a brilliant car. You say way more of the GTIs than the i30Ns, but if it wasn't for resale value, I was thinking I would pick the GTI every day. But now that I know that it's being discontinued and I look at the prices, suddenly an i30N looks quite interesting to me. Now, quick look, not that it really matters, but the Hyundai i30N, also with the same kind of engine, also kind of outperformed it, almost a second faster, 200 kilometers per hour, about the same weight. The engine was just a little bit more beefed up, especially in the actual power that the engine produces. So torque-wise, pretty much the same. And of course, the thing is, this is now being discontinued. It came out when the Golf 7 generation was out, right? We already know what the Golf 8 is, right? The Golf 8 GTI is here. The i30 will never have the fourth generation. Well, we'll come to that in a second. The performance i30 will never have a petrol fourth generation like we have with the GTI. So this will be this will be the last also of the GTI and petrol, because Volkswagen has officially confirmed that the 9th generation GTI will be all electric, right? And Hyundai is doing the same. So Hyundai is transitioning to an entirely zero emissions lineup by 35. But by the way, the i30N will still be available for some time in Australia for whatever reason. Now, we've seen these dates being pushed back sometimes, but I doubt that, a brand like Hyundai will come back on this statement, especially with the performance models, because already we know that basically the i30N has been replaced. It's the Ioniq i5 and especially the i5N version, which I honestly think is a really, really cool car. Look up a review of him. I think not Carwow. Well, they probably also reviewed it. Throttle House did a great video on this. It has it's the most real car, like petrol car feeling electric car. There's even a mode on it where you can actually shift and it acts like a normal car. So if you're like in first grade, it'll like make the sound and hold the power back for you to shift up again. So but of course, with one button you can turn all of that off. It's just a normal electric car. But for the car enthusiast, if you're like on a bit of a mountain or like a side road and you want to have that original feeling back, this car has that, which I absolutely love and just makes my adoration for a brand like Hyundai even greater. And of course, they kept the styling and they kept the branding. And again, like the black with the blue and the red, I think looks just perfect. But there's one issue. It's double the price. It's double the price of the i30N. Now, of course, we should realize that the Ioniq i5 is not the same as the i30N. It's a little bit bigger, in fact. I put it into, I believe the website is called Car Size. And you can see it's actually quite a bit bigger than the i30. And this is a normal Ioniq i5, but I believe the proportions are exactly the same. So yeah, this is the end of the i30N. An absolute modern day legend. I hope that one day, like 10, 15 years from now, some big news or car website does like a bit of a look back on the i30, and I think it will be remembered very well in the history. And it took a little spot in a lot of car guys' heart. At least it did to me. So let me know below what you think of the i30N and if you share the sadness that I feel. In any case, that's all for today. I'll see you in another one. See ya.